Welcome back to Taking a Bite to Fight Cancer. Today we're going to be making a sweet potato based veggie burger. And sweet potatoes are extremely high in vitamin A as well as beta carotene, which is a specific phytochemical, which what we talked about in the last video are the elements in foods that help fight cancer. So let's get started. We're going to start this recipe by cutting our 1.5 pounds of sweet potatoes, or about 3 medium-sized sweet potatoes, in half lengthwise and placing them face down on a covered baking sheet. Then, place the sweet potatoes in an oven preheated to 400 degrees for about 1 hour or until soft. When the sweet potatoes have cooled enough to handle them with your hands, place on a cutting board and peel away the outer skin from the flesh, using your hands or a knife or a combination of both. They should already be on a cutting board, so grab your knife and roughly chop the sweet potatoes to make them more manageable to work with later on. Using your knife as your tool, transfer the chopped sweet potatoes into a large mixing bowl where we will be adding the rest of our ingredients for this recipe. It's time to add some protein to our veggie burgers, so thoroughly rinse off 1 can of black beans and pour into your mixing bowl. Next on the cutting board is cilantro. Phytochemicals give plants their distinct taste and smell, and if you've ever worked with cilantro, you know it has both. So cut into thin strips and then dice to add more phytochemicals to your veggie burger. Measure out 1/2 cup of loosely packed cilantro and add to your mixing bowl. The next ingredient is 1/2 of a small red onion, so cut off the top and slice in half. Then, peel away the outermost layer of the onion. Dice into pieces about 1/4 of an inch wide. Onions also have a distinct taste and smell, meaning they contain phytochemicals. So once again, by adding the onions, we are increasing the cancer protective properties of the veggie burger. One last time, use your knife as your tool to transfer the onion into the mixing bowl. I have already cooked the millet, which is a gluten-free product high in fiber, on the stove in 2 parts water, 1 part millet for about 20 minutes. Millet expands while it cooks, so while you start with 1/3 cup, you'll end with a greater yield. Transfer the cooked millet to your mixing bowl. Place 1 cup of old-fashioned oats into a food processor and spin for about 5 seconds. This will make the oats more fine and give the veggie burgers a better overall texture. Pour the oats into your mixing bowl. Time to add some spice with 1 teaspoon of chili powder, 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne powder, 1 teaspoon of chipotle powder, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 2 teaspoons of cumin. Bring out your old-fashioned potato masher, or you could even use a typical mixing spoon, and mix together all of the ingredients and flavors into one. Scoop out about 1 ounce of dough, roll into a ball, and move it around in your hands to knock out the extra air. Then place in the middle of your palm and pat it into a patty about 1/4 inch thick. Place onto a heated pan with a 1/2 tablespoon of olive oil and continue making the rest of your patties. You can cook about 4 patties at a time depending on the size of your pan. For your next set of 4 patties, add another 1/2 tablespoon of olive oil to your pan. Cook each patty for around 2 to 3 minutes each side or until they are crispy brown. To save these veggie burgers to eat later, simply individually wrap them in tin foil and place them into the freezer until you're ready to enjoy them. Now you have yet another way to increase your plant intake to better adhere to the AICR guidelines of a 2/3 plant-based diet.